The 2026 Australian Open was pure cinematic history. Alcaraz didn't just win, he bulldozed his way into the pantheon of legends. The youngest player ever to complete a career Grand Slam. Standing tall against the King of Melbourne, he was absolutely fearless. The monarch has been dethroned. Yet, the King of Melbourne clawed his way back to the final stage one last time. But alongside the magic came absolute anarchy. Those controversial medical timeouts sent the entire tennis world into a frenzy. Oh no, this is a total disaster. It is a sham. That is not a real injury. It's just a cramp. The officials have completely dropped the ball on this one. We saw backstage explosions captured on hot mics, putting the future of the women's game under a microscope like never before. In a week defined by relentless action and tactical wizardry, both tours absolutely delivered at the Happy Slam. Let's dive into the full breakdown of the finals. We are talking the major storylines that exploded this week and the defining moments that made the 2026 Australian Open a genuine masterpiece. Ladies and gentlemen, your men's singles champion for 2026, King Carlos. Two American stars punched their tickets to the quarterfinals, fueling dreams of a massive upset, but the fairy tale ended there. Shelton was sent packing by Sinner in straight sets. Listen to this nightmare stat. For 22 straight sets across 9 consecutive matches, Shelton hasn't cracked the Sinner code once. 1 break per set was all Jannik required. Different year, same old script. Shelton brought the heat on serve, and we did see the evolution in his game. He was jamming him with body serves and crashing the net with way more frequency, ripping the backhand with real intent and actually hanging tough with Sinner in the marathon baseline rallies. But despite 12 months of progress, Shelton choked when it counted, whiffing on all 4 breakpoint chances he created. That has to burn, especially considering Sinner was actually having a mediocre day on his serve. He was struggling to land his first deliveries, leaving the door wide open. But the real killer? Shelton's return on the second serve completely vanished in the clutch moments. Look, 5 of Shelton's last 7 slam exits have been at the hands of Sinner, but he swears the gap is closing. My level is rising, I am getting sharper, and I am right on the verge of putting it all together. Lerner Tien also had a legitimate shot at the semis, and trust me, he went down swinging. My goodness. Sadly for Lerner, while he won the baseline war, Zverev was untouchable on serve, racking up a massive 38-point advantage in the short rallies. Zverev stared down 3 break points in that 4th set thriller, and on every single one, he fired an unreturnable missile. That was the ballgame. Guys, I just dropped a deep dive on Tien, breaking down every major upgrade in his arsenal over the last year. Go check that out and tell me if you are buying stock in my predictions for his future. Meanwhile, Alex de Minaur hit a wall named Alcaraz in the quarters, and it was brutal. Demon was in peak form, but Carlos treated him like a warm-up act. After a tight opening set gave us hope, the rest of the match felt more like a slow march to the grave. Alcaraz took the second 6-2, then delivered the knockout blow with a breadstick in the third. Imagine being top 8 in the world, redlining your forehand and backhand, playing out of your skin, throwing the kitchen sink at your opponent and leaving 0 mark. It is a gut punch for the Demon. It doesn't feel amazing. I will tell you that much. You keep grinding, but when the results don't show, you feel crushed. Another season, another soul-crushing loss at his home slam. He is now 0-6 in Grand Slam quarterfinals. Watching guys like him and Rublev really shows you how impossible it is to make a slam semi, even for the elite. Aside from boosting his serve percentages, what tactical tweaks can de Minaur possibly make to unlock the next tier? I am stumped. But if you have theories, drop them in the comments below. Into the semis for the first time down under, Alcaraz was out for blood against a fired-up Zverev. Their head-to-head was deadlocked at 6 apiece. Early on, Zverev was gambling big on his second serves. However, disaster struck with double faults in the 9th game, gifting Alcaraz the break and the first set. A clean love hold. Zverev turned up the heat in the second, serving for it at 5-3, but then imploded with 4 straight forehand errors. The Spaniard broke serve and stormed into the driver's seat, boasting a 2-set advantage after clutching out the tiebreaker. Absolute salvation. However, the narrative flipped completely once the 3rd set got underway. Carlos's body began to betray him. He started hobbling at 4-all, 15-all, yet the chair umpire hesitated on the shot clock, sparking immediate protest from the German side. While the young Spaniard tried to grit his teeth and survive, Zverev inexplicably let him breathe instead of running him ragged across the baseline. Somehow, Carlos managed to hold to reach 5-4. And that is when the real drama ignited. Alcaraz called for the trainer, ostensibly for cramping. Oh, disaster. That is a complete violation of the spirit of the rule. Cramps are not injuries. It is clearly just cramping. The officials absolutely fumbled the call here. Crucially, we have to remember that the medical staff, not the athlete, makes the final call on whether treatment is permissible. That brings up the big question: was this legitimate? Critics might say Alcaraz knew exactly what was wrong, but feigned a muscle tear to buy precious recovery minutes. In the post-match interview, he claimed total ignorance regarding the specific nature of his physical distress. "I honestly didn't suspect cramping at first," he insisted. "I had no idea what was happening." Yet, cameras caught him chugging pickle brine, the classic anti-cramp elixir. You can draw your own conclusions from that visual. Regardless, the dynamic shifted the moment they stepped back on the line. Despite his compromised mobility, the Spaniard found a way to adjust. Sasha snatched that set and dragged them into a fourth. He claimed that one too, blasting a monstrous forehand to square the match at 2 apiece. By the time the decider rolled around, it had devolved into a brutal test of endurance for both warriors. As the clock ticked on, Alcaraz seemed to catch a second wind, his quality of play rising from the ashes. Across the net, Zverev elevated his game, unleashing some of the most lethal forehands of his entire career. The German secured an early break, but the young prodigy simply would not fade into the night. Zverev held his nerve, earning the chance to serve for the championship with a stunning winner, only to tragically drop his serve twice in arguably the worst possible moment. Finally, after a marathon 5 hours and 27 minutes, Carlos Alcaraz emerged victorious. It went down in the books as the third longest battle ever witnessed at the Australian Open. Speaking afterwards, a shattered Sasha admitted he was running on absolute empty fumes. "I had nothing left to give. Usually my serve bails me out," he explained, "but my legs just quit on me. I was completely drained." It will surely haunt him that he failed to capitalize earlier and didn't put the wounded Spaniard away quickly in the middle sets. "I played those sets poorly," he confessed. "I should have closed it out with less trouble." Was it a mental collapse? I am hesitant to call it a full-blown choke. Once again, the Grand Slam dream remains agonizingly just out of reach for Alexander Zverev. He now holds the dubious distinction of being the only man in the Open era to reach 10 semifinals and 3 finals without lifting a single major trophy. He stood a mere 3 points from another final. Honestly, there is a massive conversation to be had about his season, and trust me, I have thoughts. Drop a comment if you want me to dedicate a full video to analyzing his situation. If the demand is there, I will produce it. Meanwhile, on the opposite bracket, Novak Djokovic barely survived a scare against Musetti in the quarters. I honestly predicted a straightforward walkover for the Serbian legend. That is precisely why seeing the Italian storm to a 2-set lead left everyone completely flabbergasted. Beyond getting outplayed from the baseline, Djokovic was posting abysmal numbers every time he approached the net. Spectators were left scratching their heads, wondering why the usually clinical Novak was spraying unforced errors all over the court. Luckily for the world number 1, tragedy struck Musetti's right leg early in the 3rd set, forcing him to abandon the match after just 2 hours and 8 minutes. That is just the brutal reality of the sport, folks. Heartbreaking stuff. Novak fully realized he had dodged a bullet and wasted no time admitting it. "He was outplaying me completely. I was packing my bags mentally," he said. "It is a script we have read before." Reminiscent of Dimitrov bowing out against Sinner at Wimbledon 2025, though Musetti's case feels distinct. He has a history of retiring while leading, famously against Alcaraz, and this injury unfortunately rules him out of the upcoming Golden Swing. It is a crying shame, considering the Italian looked poised to crack the top 3 in the world rankings. The priority now must be solving these recurring physical breakdowns that seem to plague him exactly when the stakes are highest. Gifted a lifeline, Djokovic turned his focus to Sinner in the semifinals, a rival who has dismantled him 5 times in a row. Despite the history, this looked like his prime opportunity to finally turn the tables on Jannik. Talk about a dream run. Djokovic was playing lights-out tennis to start the year, breezing through the opening rounds without dropping a set, catching a break with Mensik, and then watching Musetti pack his bags early. Honestly, the Serb couldn't have scripted a smoother path to save his energy for the showdown with Sinner. Just like the Zverev and Alcaraz thriller, this clash turned into an absolute marathon, marking the first time since Wimbledon 2018 that both semifinals went to a deciding 5th set. Sinner came out firing under the Rod Laver lights, looking every bit the predator, controlling the court from the back and snatching that first set, while Novak looked like he was still trying to find his footing. However, the script flipped completely in the second. Djokovic flipped the switch, breaking Sinner early, but the real magic happened when his back was against the wall on his own serve. He stared down a love 40 deficit at 3-1, then clawed his way out of another hole with breakpoints looming at 4-2. The secret sauce? Massive aces and unreturnable serves exactly when the heat was on. It is a stark reminder that even this veteran version of Novak possesses one of the deadliest serves the game has ever seen. The intensity ramped up to fever pitch in the third frame. Sinner seized control again, using his variety to run Djokovic ragged while winning a staggering 90%, that is 18 of 20 of his first serve points. They went toe-to-toe until the 10th game, where Djokovic, serving to stay alive at 4-5, finally cracked, sending a defensive lob long to hand over the set. Yet, even with his physical limits being pushed to the brink, the tide turned back to the legend in the fourth after he snagged an early break. Feeding off the roar of the stadium, Djokovic added some serious venom to his forehand, clocking 87 miles per hour and simply bullying Jannik off the court. After fighting off two massive breakpoints at 4-3, the crowd got exactly what they wanted: a winner-take-all fifth set. And with the tournament hanging in the balance, Djokovic proved once again why he is the mental giant of tennis, turning into a brick wall to save all 8 breakpoints thrown his way. Oh, and naturally, he pounced on his one and only chance to break Jannik. Sinner fought like a lion, saving 2 match points, but Novak slammed the door shut on the third. If you look at the spreadsheet, Sinner was the better player on paper, blasting 28 more winners and taking more total points. But Novak is an anomaly. He defies the math and finds a path to victory when everyone counts him out. There is a whole army of people out there doubting me. You see, suddenly there are all these experts who wanted to retire me, or have claimed I was done multiple times over the last few years. I actually want to thank them, because their doubt fuels my fire. This match goes straight into the history books as one of his masterpieces. Facing 18 breakpoints and saving 16 of them against a player of Sinner's caliber is absurd. He had plenty of opportunities but failed to capitalize, and that is the story. It is a bitter end for the two-time defending champion, who still cannot seem to crack the code in matches lasting over 3 hours and 50 minutes. But returning to Novak, punching his ticket to the finale made him the oldest man to reach the Australian Open title match in the Open era, eclipsing the legendary Ken Rosewall. His first major final appearance since Wimbledon 2024, and another shot, for the greatest of all time, to finally capture that elusive 25th slam. However, standing between him and glory was Alcaraz, a man hungry to carve out his own slice of history. The stakes could not have been higher. Sunday's showdown was a masterclass in patience, speed, and accuracy, though Carlos looked asleep at the wheel in the opener. On the flip side, we witnessed flashes of prime Djokovic. The man dropped a mere 2 points on his serve for the whole set. He was playing in the red zone, painting the lines and constantly rushing Carlos into mistakes. Djokovic needed just 33 minutes to pocket the first set 6-2, but the dynamic shifted dramatically in the second. Carlitos began to find his swagger after Novak gifted him some rare errors, deciding to turn the match into a physical brawl from that point on. Djokovic simply could not match that level of athleticism, and his intensity fell off a cliff. Consider this: Carlos averaged 38 sprints per match this year. Against Novak, he racked up 48 sprints compared to Djokovic's 22. Alcaraz was happy to grind, slowing the ball down, playing stellar defense, and counterpunching whenever Novak left the door ajar. Djokovic also watched his first serve percentage plummet from 78% in the opener to a dismal 50% in the second. With Alcaraz tweaking his return stance and adding more topspin to his shots, Djokovic started pressing, trying to force winners that were not there, leading to a pile of errors and a 2-6 loss in the set. He bounced back a bit in the third, but the sheer physical toll of Alcaraz's service games started affecting Novak's ground strokes. The battle at the net. Carlos effectively starved Novak of any rhythm to work with, leaving the Serb with absolutely no answers. Djokovic surrendered his serve twice, as the Spaniard claimed the third set with authority. Early in the fourth, the Serb fended off a staggering 6 breakpoints to swing the momentum back in his favor. Novak sniffed a break opportunity at 4-all, 30-40, but completely shanked a forehand well past the baseline. Then, serving with his back against the wall at 5-6, Djokovic committed 3 uncharacteristic errors on the first ball to crash out in 4. The curtain falls on Djokovic's unbeaten run in Melbourne, marking a mission accomplished for Alcaraz. Honestly, It felt like the Spaniard was playing in second gear during Sunday's showdown. He wasn't even redlining that forehand or hunting for flashy winners. It was a clinically precise performance from Carlitos, which is actually terrifying to witness. Where does a kid of 22 find the steel to perform like that, especially without his head coach in the box? Regardless, at 22, Alcaraz becomes the youngest player ever to complete the career Grand Slam, joining an elite club of just 6 men. He has bagged 7 majors at just 22 years of age and remains unbeaten in 2026. With a mountain of ranking points to his name, it is mind-boggling to think he will be chasing a double career slam at the 2027 Australian Open at only 23. For perspective, Djokovic didn't reach that milestone until 34, and Nadal until 35. Frankly, every page of the record books is under threat with this guy around. As for Novak, he returns to the top 3, holding his head high with new records and that titanic victory over Sinner. Taking down one of these young giants is doable, but running the gauntlet against both is a Herculean task. You have to assume that without Jannik and Carlos on the scene, Novak would likely be sitting on 30 majors by now. Switching to the women's draw, tournament boss Craig Tiley floated the concept of best-of-5 matches for the ladies from the quarterfinals onwards next year. The response has been polarized, and honestly, I can see the logic in both arguments. From a corporate standpoint, if you are selling drama, extending these high-octane battles makes total financial sense. However, the athletes I have spoken to believe playing 5 sets is a recipe for physical ruin, particularly in the oven-like conditions of Melbourne. Anyway, back to the action. With 4 Americans in the final 8, expectations were sky-high for a homegrown finalist. But reality hit hard. Djokovic was simply bulldozed by Sabalenka's overwhelming power. There is no shame in that. Sometimes the opposition is just untouchable. Anisimova and Pegula then squared off in an all-American civil war, with Pegula emerging victorious. I recall when Jess was the queen of the quarterfinal exit, seemingly unable to crack the Final Four to save her life. Well, she exercised that demon at the 2024 US Open and has now booked back-to-back semifinal spots at the majors. I have said it before, but Pegula possesses one of the sharpest tactical minds on tour, and she knows exactly how to dismantle a power hitter. Her defensive positioning was immaculate, forcing her opponent to hit just one more ball every time. She moved the ball around the court until Anisimova cracked, clearly growing frustrated as the match wore on. Anisimova simply could not find a rhythm on her serve. Exactly. And a costly double fault combined with 44 unforced errors paved the way for a straight sets defeat. Pegula improves to 4-0 against Anisimova and has now taken 14 of her last 15 clashes against fellow Americans. She looks like the cream of the crop, unlike Coco Gauff, who was dismantled by Svitolina in under an hour. Svitolina ruthlessly targeted the Gauff forehand throughout the match. Combine that tactical abuse with a rare off day for Coco's serve, and it explains why she barely scraped together 3 games. I really tried to keep my head up out there, but it felt like my entire game just abandoned me in the moment. For Svitolina, however, this marks a triumphant return to the top 10, a target she set back in January. I told my coach I wanted to be back in the Elite 10, so this is mission accomplished for me. Now, regarding player privacy, cameras caught Gauff having an emotional breakdown in the tunnel after her loss. Gauff argues that such raw, vulnerable moments should not be fodder for television. I hunted for a private spot to let it out, but the cameras followed me. I really hate that part of the broadcast. It feels invasive. The same thing happened in New York, and I truly believe those moments should remain private. To be honest, the entire locker room seemed to rally behind Coco, showing a massive wave of empathy. Let's state the obvious. These athletes deserve a shield of privacy when they are at their most vulnerable. We need to kill the cameras. It is absolute madness. Are we competitors or just exhibits in a glass zoo? They are stalked by lenses from the second they step onto the grounds. Elena Rybakina proved exactly why she sits on the throne, dismantling Swiatek in straight sets during the quarters. Talk about a clinic. Elena was serving fire and striking the ball with absolute purity. Tough break for Iga. But 2026 will not be the year she hoists the career Grand Slam trophy. It is back to the lab for her. She admitted her serve needs a serious overhaul. There are mechanical tweaks she knows she must make to level up. With all 4 semi-finalists arriving without dropping a single set, the tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. Rybakina snatched the opener against Pegula but got the jitters in the second, squandering multiple match points. It was a rare sight to see her sweat, but staring down the barrel in the tiebreak, the Ice Queen returned. The old Elena might have folded, but the version we have seen over the last 6 months is a different beast entirely. On the flip side, Sabalenka stepped onto the court, oozing confidence against Elena. She attacked from the first ball, never letting her foot off the gas. Arena was a relentless force of nature in the semis. The stage was set. Showtime. Rybakina versus Sabalenka. A blockbuster rematch of the 2023 AO final with everything at stake. We could not have scripted a better finale. Sabalenka held the 8-6 edge, but Rybakina had the last laugh at the WTA finals. With lightning-fast holds piling on the pressure, the serve was always going to be the deciding weapon. Rybakina stormed out of the gates, earning a crucial early break. She locked it down immediately, unleashing that trademark clean, explosive power. Clocking forehands at nearly 79 miles per hour and backhands over 72, she was blasting the ball 3 miles per hour faster than Sabalenka. And the kicker? She was painting the lines with surgical precision. Sabalenka sniffed a chance at 4-3, but Rybakina slammed the door shut with unplayable serves to take the set. Set 2 was a total shift, pure Sabalenka dominance. Her serve dialed in, dropping a single point on the first delivery. Suddenly, Rybakina looked shaky, her service armor showing cracks. Serving for survival, she rushed the net and got absolutely smoked. One set all. It all boiled down to handling the heat, fueled by Vukov's desperate coaching from the box. Where is the energy? Wake up! That sparked the fire, and Rybakina clawed back from a 3-0 hole in the decider. From that moment on, Rybakina owned the big stages. Claiming 24 clutch points to Sabalenka's 15, she swept 6 of the final 7 games to capture her second major. Victory well earned. And check the celebration, cool as a cucumber, like she just won a Tuesday match at a 250 event. Total points? Dead even. Sabalenka fired more winners, but Rybakina was the assassin when the chips were down. She joins an elite club as only the 4th woman to topple the world number 1 and 2 on the path to AO glory. That marks the 3rd time she has taken out the top 2 seeds in a single event. Make that 10 straight wins against the top 10. Look, I will say it, post-Wimbledon, Rybakina is just built different. She is racking up wins faster than anyone, shaking off injuries and adding serious venom to that forehand. Stay healthy, and she is snatching that world number 1 ranking by season's end. Who wants a Rybakina deep dive? Because for Sabalenka, this is just another chapter of finals heartbreak. It is wild. Sabalenka has converted just 4 titles from 10 finals and 18 major semis. Her rivals are closing the deal way more often, while she is haunted by those 6-4 third-set losses. Brutal stretch for Arena, but do not count her out, she will bounce back. Last weekend was tennis nirvana, totally worth the chaotic travel and the wrecked sleep schedules we all suffered. If you missed it, go smash that Week 1 AO recap to catch up on the madness. Dive into the chaos of the championship and make sure you catch the exclusive features we captured while exploring Down Under. It feels amazing to be back on home soil, and I truly hope you devoured the stories we told throughout the Australian Open season. I am currently crafting some massive projects alongside heavy hitters you definitely recognize, and the big reveal is coming in just a few weeks. Make sure to smash that like, hit subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you never miss a beat here on Courtside Tennis. Until the next match begins, stay bold and keep aiming for the paint.